Not every movie that tanks at the box office is a misunderstood gem. Some are just bad. In this video, we're counting down 12 box office bombs that truly earned their flop status. From messy plots to poor direction, these films are prime examples of what not to do in Hollywood. After the massive success of Wonder Woman, expectations were sky high for the sequel. Wonder Woman 1984 took a different approach, leaning heavily into nostalgia and camp, but it missed the mark. Behind the scenes, the film's release was delayed several times, and it even went straight to streaming on HBO Max. The introduction of Steve Trevor, who, mind you, died in the first movie, left a lot of people scratching their heads. A 59% on Rotten Tomatoes reflected that division.
You've always had everything, while people like me have had nothing. Well, now it's my turn. Get used to it.
Robert Downey Jr.'s first big role after Iron Man should have been a win, but Dolittle ended up being a strange mix of talking animals and a plot that wandered off into the weeds. The storyline about finding a magical healing tree couldn't keep things together. And the humor? Well, it left audiences stone-faced. With a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's safe to say this family-friendly adventure didn't land as planned. Behind the scenes, the film reportedly went through extensive reshoots, with Downey improvising much of his dialogue.
We've no choice but to embark on this perilous journey. It's okay to be scared. Hello, Barry. Hello, lunch. This is very bad.
Battlefield Earth, adapted from Ron Hubbard's novel, is legendary, just for all the wrong reasons. John Travolta had been trying to get this project off the ground for years, and when it finally landed, it crashed. Set in a post-apocalyptic future where humans are enslaved by aliens, it was packed with bizarre camera work and dialogue that bordered on parody. Travolta himself called the film a work of art at the time, but with a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, critics and audiences clearly disagreed. Dark Phoenix was supposed to be the explosive finale to the X-Men saga, but instead, it fizzled out. The film underwent several reshoots, and the original ending was completely scrapped after test screenings revealed it was too similar to another superhero movie. Captain Marvel, anyone? Sophie Turner gave it her all as Jean Grey, but the movie's pacing and underdeveloped characters couldn't save it. Critics gave it 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, and with that convoluted final act, it's easy to see why.
She'll kill us all.
Tell me how we fix this, Charles. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
Bad things happen to people I love.
The girl dies.
She's still Jean. We can still help her.
Eddie Murphy ruled the box office in the 90s, but by the early 2000s, his Midas touch was fading. Pluto Nash was meant to be his big sci-fi comeback, but it ended up being one of the most notorious flops in film history. Murphy later joked that the movie only got made because no one had the courage to tell him no. Set on the moon in 2087, the film was shot in 2000, but sat on the shelf for 2 years before it was released. And after seeing it, you can understand why.
So you got it all figured out, huh?
Few movies have a legacy as strange as Cats. The studio famously rushed its release, leading to unfinished CGI that had to be patched in after it hit theaters. Yes, the butthole cut is real. The production also boasted a star-studded cast: Ian McKellen, Judi Dench, Taylor Swift. But no amount of talent could save this fever dream of a film. With a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, Cats quickly became the punchline of 2019. Johnny Depp as Tonto was a head-scratcher from the start. The Lone Ranger tried to mash together action, comedy, and a dash of Western, but it ended up as an overstuffed mess. The movie juggled too many plot lines: greed, revenge, train chases, you name it. Critics didn't hold back, especially with the film's 149-minute runtime that felt like a marathon. And the backlash against Depp's casting as a Native American character didn't help its reputation.
Please, this is a mistake. There doesn't need to be a war. We are already ghosts. Kima!
Halle Berry took home a Razzie Award for Catwoman, and honestly, she deserved it. Straying far from the comic book origins, the movie introduced us to Patience Phillips, a woman who, after being resurrected by a magical cat, develops cat-like reflexes. But the plot, full of cheesy one-liners and cringy CGI, was its downfall. Berry actually showed up to accept her Razzie in person and thanked Warner Brothers for casting her in this piece of shit movie, saying it was exactly what her career needed. A fast plummet from the top to the bottom.
Amateurs. You boys thought you could come in here and steal all these beautiful things? What a perfect idea.
Even Ryan Reynolds won't let us forget how bad Green Lantern was. Playing Hal Jordan, Reynolds did his best with what he was given, but even his charm couldn't save the clunky CGI and overloaded storyline. The film had multiple villains, a messy narrative, and an over-reliance on computer-generated effects. Reynolds later poked fun at the movie in Deadpool, reminding everyone that some things should just stay buried.
I feel your fear growing. You will be dead soon. The entire human race will be wiped out because you, Hal Jordan, were afraid. Beware my power. Green Lantern's life!
Disney had big hopes for John Carter, but this ambitious sci-fi epic couldn't find its footing. Based on the early 20th century pulp series John Carter of Mars, the film had stunning visuals, but was bogged down by a convoluted plot. Originally, the character was considered for a film adaptation as early as the 1930s, making its 2012 release a culmination of decades of failed attempts. Sadly, when it did arrive, audiences didn't bite.
You killed him with one blow.
For a movie about Martians kidnapping moms, Mars Needs Moms was weirdly lifeless. Despite being produced by Robert Zemeckis, the film's motion capture animation was off-putting and failed to capture the imagination of kids or their parents. The film also holds the notorious distinction of being one of the biggest box office bombs in history, ranking up there with Pluto Nash.
I'm gonna go tell her I'm sorry. Mom? How do we get past all those Martians?
Fire by blaster!
This thing is going on my Christmas.
This reboot was meant to usher in a new era for Marvel's first family, but instead, it crashed and burned. The production was plagued with issues, including last-minute rewrites and a director who publicly distanced himself from the final cut. What resulted was a dark, slow film that lacked any of the fun or excitement expected from a superhero blockbuster. With a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's now just another reminder of what happens when a franchise reboot goes terribly wrong.
What you've created here is incredible.
You guys sure you're in the best shape to be doing this?
Yeah.
We're good.